We have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, if you will. And Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist.
The chants outside the courthouse weren't just background noise. They sounded like alarms blaring for the entire country. Crime family! Crime family! Protesters shouted as Donald Trump Jr. strolled in, trying to act unfazed but looking more like a deer frozen in high beams. This wasn't a red carpet. It was a $250 million fraud case. And Jr. wasn't there to shake hands. He was there to explain how a billion-dollar brand allegedly stood on smoke, mirrors, and delusion. Inside, with a straight face, he called his father a real estate artist. Not a mogul, not a mastermind, an artist. That's like calling Bernie Madoff a creative director for stolen retirement funds.
We have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, if you will. And Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist with...
The irony? This is the same guy who once tried to pitch Trump steaks on QVC. You know things are bleak when sarcasm is the only product your empire consistently delivers. And trust me, it only spirals from here. Donald Trump Jr.'s testimony was already cringeworthy, but he went ahead and sprinkled some drama on top by channeling his inner Shakespeare. To him, real estate isn't business, it's fine art. Honestly, Picasso might resurrect himself just to serve a cease and desist. But wait, it gets wilder. He compared his dad's deals to sculpture. Yes, the same dad who once tried to trademark "you're fired" like yelling at people was a monetizable skill set. And the courtroom? They just let it happen. Either. That's proof.
The thing that would make it worse is if somebody changed the lyrics to a song by his beloved Village People to drive it home.
Taco, taco man.
Instead. This could be the new YMCA. They can play it at rallies. You can do TACO. Right?
Our justice system is patient, or that earplugs should be handed out at the door. Meanwhile, outside, the streets weren't buying the performance. Memes were already flying before the judge even banged the gavel. And one nickname started trending: Taco Man. Not Macho Man, Taco Man. Because every time accountability shows up, Trump folds like a soft shell. Taco Trump always chickens out. And if that acronym doesn't make its way into future textbooks, we've failed as a society. The internet did what it always does when it smells drama. It dropped a remix. Someone dug up Trump's obsession with the Village People's Macho Man and flipped it into a dystopian anthem, Taco Man. You haven't...
Topic again, venting about the need to punish late-night comedians for giving illegal campaign contributions to the Democratic Party in the form of jokes and on-air satire. And stupid Jimmy Kimmel. We're off to a good start. Starting with stupid Jimmy Kimmel, all right, that part might be true. That's debatable. That's a matter of opinion. Who still hasn't recovered from his horrendous performance and big ratings drop as host of the Academy Awards. Oh, that's weird, because I read in the news that the ratings went up this year.
Truly lived until you've seen Donald Trump Jr.'s smug courtroom expression auto-tuned to taco. The meme machine went into overdrive. TikTok, Twitter, even LinkedIn jumped in. Suddenly, Trump wasn't a former president. He was a menu item. Timelines got swamped with tacos. AI art cranked out images of him in full-on mariachi chef gear, decked out like a Crunchwrap gladiator. This wasn't politics. It was digital warfare, and it hit hard. Now every time someone hears YMCA, their brain swaps it for taco. This wasn't parody, it was psychological napalm. And Donald Trump Jr.? He didn't just take an L, he became the punchline, not with grace, but with imaginary guac sliding off what's left of that family brand. Meanwhile, Trump himself was fuming. Not at the court, not at the fraud trial, but at Jimmy Kimmel. That's right. The former president of the United States was so triggered by jokes on late-night TV that he allegedly asked the White House to call Disney. Imagine being so fragile that your biggest national security concern is monologue punchlines. Trump wasn't focused on legal defense. He was focused on trying to cancel comedians. President Karen demanded to speak to the manager of comedy. He accused Kimmel of illegal campaign contributions in the form of jokes. Yes, in Trump world, laughter is apparently a crime. He even brought this up at rallies, calling Kimmel stupid and a lousy host, while conveniently ignoring that his own TV ratings dropped harder than his approval ratings. You can't make this up unless you're Trump, in which case you live it. And while that circus played out, Don Jr. was having a father-son outing at the UFC fight in Madison Square Garden. There they were, Trump, Don Jr., Dana White, Tucker, Carlson, and Kid Rock cheered on like the Avengers of right-wing chaos. Cameras flashed, but online it looked more like the casting call for a midlife crisis action movie, The Expendables MAGA edition. Jimmy Kimmel, ever the late-night assassin, did what he does best. He turned Trump's rage into roast beef, playing clips, showing documents, and dragging the orange one with every punchline, and it worked. Trump responded with incoherent rants. So desperate, even his own supporters winced. "He thinks he bothers me," Trump barked, while clearly being so bothered that he orchestrated a White House vendetta. At one point, he tried to paint Kimmel as irrelevant, then launched into a 10-minute Oscars rant. That's not a politician, that's a wounded ego in a suit. Trump's obsession with Kimmel revealed just how thin his skin really is, thinner even than the excuses Donald Trump Jr. gave in court. And when Trump rants, the internet listens and laughs, then remixes. It's a cycle he can't escape. Don Jr., meanwhile, returned to court the next day, still trying to explain how a man who built fake universities and failed casinos could be an artist. He blamed accountants, staff, and the system, but never himself. His entire defense boiled down to, how was I supposed to know millions were misreported? I'm just the guy cashing the checks. That's like a getaway driver saying he thought the ski masks were for winter weather. Then, because nothing is normal, he brought up his elbows mid-testimony, claiming they were soldered together. What are we watching, Judge Judy or Shark Tank? None of it made sense, but it didn't have to. In Trump world, nonsense is the strategy. Confuse, distract, meme, repeat. And back at Madison Square Garden, the UFC fight was supposed to be a bonding moment, but online it was roasted like it came with dipping sauce. People didn't see strength, they saw a meme parade. And when you're in court for fraud one day and hugging Kid Rock the next, optics matter. Or maybe not if you're a Trump. For them, attention is currency, but lately that currency's been inflated into comic relief. Enter the nickname Taco, now circulating on Wall Street, an acronym for Trump always chickens out. And of course, Trump hates it. When a reporter asked about the so-called taco trade, Trump flipped, calling it a nasty question, then launched into a confusing rant about China tariffs, EU taxes, and math that didn't add up. But no one heard a word. The only thing echoing in the room was taco, the sound of credibility being deep-fried. This isn't new either. In 2018, while still president, Trump was reportedly so upset about Kimmel's jokes that he had his White House staff called Disney twice to tell them to rein Kimmel in. That's right. The President of the United States asked Mickey Mouse's bosses to muzzle a comedian. Trump claimed Kimmel was not talented, said he hits me all the time, and tried to pressure Disney because his feelings were hurt. He even suggested CBS lose its license. It wasn't leadership. It was a man demanding to speak to the manager of satire. Kimmel naturally roasted him again, calling Trump one of the dumbest human beings ever and saying he should have listened to his wife. He even described Trump's first 100 days as prehistoric, giving him a grade somewhere between F and "you've got to be kidding me." Then came the AI art wave. Artists rendered Trump as a chicken nugget warlord, Don Jr. as a crunchy enchilada, and the whole MAGA crew as a 5-piece combo meal. It wasn't politics. It was pop culture surgery. The images went viral. News outlets picked them up. Even conservative media couldn't avoid it. And what did Trump do? He doubled down, claimed satire was un-American, said CBS should be censored, tried again to muzzle Kimmel. This from the man who built a brand on mocking others. The so-called king of comebacks got dethroned by memes and marinated in mockery. The story only gets more absurd. According to multiple reports, the Trump White House made at least 2 official calls to Disney to convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues. In other words, President Karen literally demanded to speak to the manager, again. And then Trump repeated the claim that Kimmel doesn't bother him, while proving over and over that he absolutely does. Jimmy responded again, calling him a dope, while pointing out that usually Trump pays people $130,000 to keep quiet, not the other way around. In the end, this isn't about one joke or one trial. It's about a collapsing legacy. The Trump family brand, once tied to gold towers and private jets, is now associated with tacos, memes, and courtroom cringe. Don Jr.'s testimony didn't prove innocence. It proved incompetence. Trump's reactions didn't show leadership. They showed obsession. Every tweet, every meltdown, every attempt to silence comedians only amplifies the fall. We're not watching a political dynasty. We're watching the final season of a reality show that forgot it got canceled. America has moved on. But Trump, he's still trying to trademark the reruns. The only question now is, will he chicken out again, or will the next nickname finish what Taco Man started? Either way, history's laughing. And this time, it's not with him. It's at him.